And I want to make sure that we are being quick and expeditious with this. So I would ask for all the chairs, one, please make sure that all your written reports are submitted and on board with the office. So that way we can make sure they're distributed as part of the packet for Monday's meeting. And then part two, for your summary, please make it on the shorter side, 2 minutes. Please let us know if there are any highlights of things that are going on in your committees, and also if there are any action items that you have. So votes that we would need to take tonight, so that way I can put it on the list. And when we get to that portion, the executive committee can vote on it. Part of what we are doing as well, this is I've heard the pleas of the committee chairs from last year, definitely understanding as you're not a part of that voting process. After you submitted your reports, you are able to leave. You do not need to stay for that portion. Absolutely, I do ask if you can stay because it's helpful if there's any questions or clarifications the exec committee needs. But after the executive, after the committee chairs have fully reported, you are able to dismiss yourselves if you wish at that time. Okay, we good with that? Okay, all right, so at next time we are going to jump right in. And let's see, are there any volunteers for the first one instead of me picking on somebody? I saw Mr. Norville's hand go up. All right, we'll hear from transportation first.
This is for the report, right? Just clarifying.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
This is for the reports, right? I'm just clarifying.
Yep, this is your report. So 2 minutes or less and give us the highlights.
All right. Well, I mean, highlights, we just got some voting items completed. We finished up a recommendation on the B49 issue. And we want that to go to the full board as soon as possible, probably on Monday. And we also got through with a resolution on the car share program so far. That will also go through to the full board, I believe, on Monday. I mean, ideally, as soon as possible. Apart from that, yeah, the concerns haven't changed. Those were like the two big ones that I wanted to tackle first. But after that, a lot of the focus shifts a little bit more towards like safety, on the roads and that kind of stuff, as well as, just things around optimizing, transportation. So like different bus lines that might be better like handled and that kind of thing. We're looking to probably also work with a committee of a neighboring district that has some of the same issues with the same lines, and see if we can have a little synergy there. But generally, those are the issues. The two big ones, the headline ones, have kind of been handled, and we're looking to move those through. That's it.
Okay, so I heard there was a recommendation for the B49 and a resolution for car sharing. You said you wanted those two action items you want us to consider on Monday?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that will be noted. When we get to the business session, we'll entertain those. I might need you to stick around just to explain, get a little bit more to the specifics of those two items. And absolutely, if you've already tendered your report, correct?
Can you repeat that?
Have you submitted your report already? The report for the committee?
I'm not sure. I've submitted the resolutions and the voting items to the board already, but I think they answered.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the resolutions. I'll confirm if we received the minutes for the committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the minutes I think have already gone up, but yeah.
Okay, no, that's perfect then. So we'll confirm that when we get to the business session. I might just ask for you for a little clarification, and we'll see if we're ready for that.
I have a bit of a hard stop around 7:30, 7:45, so I might not stay for a long time, but that's why I want to get this through first.
No problem. We'll try and move this along. Thank you very much. Hold on. Any questions? We can take a question or two for the transportation chair. Any questions? Ms. Westerdahl, you had a question?
Not for the transportation chair. I had my hand up from the topic before you started with the committee reports. So, can I?
Okay. Well, okay. I'll take your. If you want, I'll take your question now since I didn't recognize you before. What is your question?
Just in regards to the retirements, I wanted to make sure that there's a treasury report from Maya Lagote, I guess her name. Thank you. And one thing that I'm interested in and want to know is what is going to happen with a non-for-profit called Friends of Community Board 9. I know the previous treasurer worked with Warren, to transfer that account. I know, I looked it up online, and that account, Warren, did you say there's money in it? What's gonna happen to that money? How much was in there? Where did it come from? And, it was transferred into Warren's name. Is he still gonna be overseeing the non-for-profit that is Friends of CB9? Because the meeting I went to, it sounded like maybe not the best idea to have an account like that, because it could be seen as, depending on who's donating to that account and how that money's being used. I just want to report, I want to follow up. I think the whole board would like to know that. So that's just what I wanted to comment on.
Okay, very briefly, and there's more conversations that happen about that. Friends of CB9 is actually a different entity from CB9. So
Yeah, I know that, but
okay, and if I can finish, if I can finish. So with that being said, that's funds that have been raised privately through other donations that have been given. Because of the nature of the board as a government entity, we don't mix that business together. What we've been trying to do is actually set it up so that way it can be a vehicle that supports CB9 events. So that transition is in process in terms of Warren exiting out of that, and the staffing for that is being arranged separately and apart from CB9. So that much I can share at this point. And as we have further developments, there are ways we're looking to integrate those operations in terms of supporting CB9, but it's a little premature because there's still some work that has to be done on that side.
Yeah, I'm just interested in transparency.
Absolutely, and it's not transparent because it's not CB9. It has nothing to do with Community Board 9.
Treasurer did that. Executive board member.
It has nothing to do with Community Board 9.
It has nothing to do with the board, and we're not discussing it right now. Can we move on, please?
Yeah, but we talked about it here before, so.
Absolutely, and what I'm saying is the treasurer has, but we've been very clear. CB9 and Friends of CB9 are two distinct entities. So we are discussing CB9 business here. We are working on Friends of CB9 because the intent of that organization is to be a support to CB9. It's not there yet. There's work being done. So at the appropriate time, that will be a conversation in terms of how it best supports CB9 in our activities.
All right, what's the appropriate time? Because I want to make sure.
Wait, Ms. Westerdahl, we're not going to discuss it now because it's not part of CB9 business. We are in order right
we
now.
have to move on. Let's
okay, no, Fran, I got it. We are in order. So now we're going to continue. All right, Suki, I see your hand. Did you have a question for transportation or you want to do ULERP?
No, go ahead. I'll defer my question until later. That's fine.
Okay. All right then. Fran, I know you said you might have it early, so we'll take you have a report for Health and Social Services?
Thank you very much. We met, I think it was on Monday that we met. We had One Brooklyn Health. They presented a grand presentation on what's happening in Brooklyn. It will be part of the minute, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. But we had someone who came in, and there is a resolution that she would like us to support. I wish we had. So she's asking for NYC Council members and Honorable Speaker to issue a resolution that she's looking for us to support on behalf of the New York City municipal retirees, and urges the New York City Council to pass it, that in 1090-2023, which will be preserve retired healthcare choices by mandating the city to offer Medicaid eligible city retirees and the Medicare eligible dependents at least one Medigap plan with benefits equivalent to or better than those available to city retirees and other dependents as of December 31st, 2021. It's a long reading, and she would like our support. So I'm asking the chair that you send it. I'm not sure if it was sent to all the to the executive members, but if the executive members could take a look at it. And because of time, I don't want to read everything. And so that she's asking for the board to support this resolution. The general, so we will present it. She will come to the meeting, and then we can present, if we can present it. So we have to vote on it tonight. so that we can present it at the meeting, next board meeting. So I'm not sure if maybe you didn't say. Do you want me to read it or?
We can. Well, actually, I guess. Well, are you finished with the report? Let's come right back to that. We'll come back. Are you finished with the report?
Yeah, I don't have much. It's just we just had this, and then I mean we had many persons from the community which came in who from other organizations in the community. So we are looking to come together and have a forum, have some something more or less like another study for the seniors. Also, so we'll be partners with some other organizations in the community. So we are looking to bring much needed services to the seniors. So we are working on that. We have persons who came on, and then One Brooklyn Health also want to partner with us if we are looking for space where we can utilize to bring the seniors together to do different things with them for services. We are also looking to do also diabetes awareness. So we want to bring some more services in the community. So we will get that space that we're looking for, and then so we'll be hearing more of it, and we'll be working closely with one Brooklyn Health, and then for this resolution, so we can discuss it tonight, so we can support. See if we would pass, so we could support the lady who came to help to the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I guess I do have one question. So did your committee review and vote on the matter? And what was the recommendation it did?
So we did not, we did not. They were in favor, as in the discussion, they were very much in favor of, because of it's looking more or less at the age gap and then how it's going to affect persons who are retiring with the change with the Medicaid and Medicare. So persons but we didn't, and it's something else we also have to discuss as well, because when I look at the list of the names of community board members who are part of the committee, they are not coming to the meeting. So we have to revisit that also. So we did not vote on it.
Okay. With that being said, I'm a little bit nervous about bringing it to the full board, as there hasn't been an actual recommendation of vote from the committee.
Okay.
Is there a time constraint on that? Is there something we have to act on quickly, or can you defer that to the next board committee meeting and you have a vote?
So I can reach out to her and let her know that we can revisit it. We can have a meeting and we take a vote on it and revisit it for next month.
Okay.
I'll find out if there is a time frame on it. And
Okay.
if anything, and if yes, then what I will do, I will have the office to send the paper to all the members. Let them take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, and I do have questions about the appropriateness of the board voting on that, because I think that's on we're voting for basically the health benefits for retirees. I'm not sure if that's in the scope of the board or if it's appropriate, but I think that could probably be part of the conversation when you go back to committee. So
okay, yeah, and then I would like you to take a look at it, so you will see the appropriateness of it, if we should present it or not.
Okay, no, absolutely. All right then. Okay, so we have your report for information. Thank you very much for that, Madam Chair. All right, going around the room, who do I see? Environmental protection.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
So we had a very good meeting on Monday. Our focus was on the abundance of storms that we've been having. So we are trying to get to the root causes and get an idea as to what can be done, to make our community residents, and I mean residents across New York City, as a matter of fact, feel safe in their homes, because we've been hearing about a lot of flooding, and there's a lot of things that connect to that. So if we know what's where and whether it's functioning the way it should be in the event that another storm should come, it's helpful. So we are pretty much going to be talking about that some more, and we'll reach out to DEP so that someone can do a presentation for us. And hopefully we can get some of those answers, our questions answered. Mr. Herbert came up with a contact, so he will be reaching out to, the contact, and we'll be scheduling something. And also we'll be looking at, some of the reports that's out there with the resources in terms of, doing some upgrades to our system that's overwhelmed, because when your system can only take 1.7 and it's going like 2 and 3, that's a problem. So, I'm concerned, and I believe that everyone else on the, committee has concerns about that. Also parked vehicles, zip cars. So we are trying to work out everything so that, we'll have a sense as to, which way we want to take our committee and the concerns that we see in the community, and get them addressed, before the next storm, hopefully. So I'm not going to go on and on. Oh, we do have a guest. We did have a guest at our meeting on Monday, and she happens to be a scholar from a climate resilience fellow. So she's going to be joining us, and she'll be working alongside with us as well, doing some of the things that we want to, try to get to the bottom of it. So that's a good thing right there. She is mentioned in my minutes, so, everyone will, get, the information. So that's all I have for tonight. And
Okay.
to be continued. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. Are there any action items, anything that needs to be voted on in your report, or is it information?
Not at this time. Hopefully,
Okay.
once we start addressing some of the major water concerns, we may have something that we want to put out there, and, just to get to the bottom of it. So not at this time.
Thank you very much for your report. The report is accepted for informational purposes. Are there any questions at this time for the Chair of Environmental Protection? Suki, I see you. Any other questions? Okay, Suki, we'll take your question and we close.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you. I just wanted to say that the issue of sewer capacity came up in my committee as well when
Oh,
we were discussing new development and the cumulative impact of all of the new
Yes.
development in my committee. So we did come up with maps of the existing and proposed future developments and some counts of the totals. So
Yeah.
I'd be happy to work with you on, trying to understand what some of the impacts are. And we'll definitely try to make it to your meeting with the DEP rep. So that's great. Mr. Herbert came to our meeting as well and was also suggesting that we look into load issues for the
Mhm.
electric grid. Obviously there's going to be like traffic issues and
Yes.
so on. So it's just a variety of things. And it's really like, we can tell you what, development is happening, but if you guys have a sense of what those impacts are going to be and what they mean, that's really helpful. So
Yeah. And also in my minutes, I have some helpful links on there. So, if anybody wanted to look at the information, they can do so. So,
Okay, excellent.
but
excellent.
yeah, we can definitely talk more about that.
I believe also is Dante here? He sent out something. I could swear he sent out something about like a DEP capital commitments tracker some time ago. But it's like one of those things where if you blink, you miss it. And I didn't. So that might be useful as well to understand, like, if that's helping. And even just also like city with the sewers, it's a city-wide thing because apparently we only have like certain like watersheds.
Yeah.
Like most of us are covered by some watershed that's in Guana. So
Yes.
like it actually, whatever's happening in the rest of the city affects a lot of people.
A lot of people. Yes. Totally agree.
Okay, no, that's excellent. And I'm really happy to hear the conversations. And I absolutely encourage the chairs to work across, borders, so to speak, in terms of if you have information, to please feel free to share with other chairs. So that way, we can cross-pollinate in that sense and share knowledge. As well,
Chair?
and I just wanted to make a quick notice, and I'll recognize you right after that, Madam Secretary, I'll recognize you. The other piece I want to say as well with respect to that is, and I lost my train of thought. Don't get old, people. Madam Secretary, go ahead, and if I get it back.
I'm Father Really Suki. I just want to say to Debbie that what we want to talk to you about, the Youth Services Committee, we met also last week. And one of our things would be similar to the whole climate change stuff and keeping our environment clean. So we were talking about doing a project like cleanup, and I mentioned that you had done that last year, and that's yours. So we will be having a conversation with you too on how we could join and stuff like that. So expect us along with Suki.
My apologies, I had to step off for a second. Okay. But yeah, absolutely. Going back to that point, the sharing between committees also, and I think this is something I wanted to put out as well. It started as a conversation in ULURP, and I think it's very good. If there's information, questions about capacity or information that might be held by agencies that would affect your decision-making or being able to weigh in and make recommendations, please feel free to start itemizing that and creating those lists. So that way the district office can make the request to the appropriate agencies in terms of getting data for you. So I think it's very good in terms of understanding the sewer system, what capacity is, what the limits are, if there's projected projects. I think that's good for you to know, so that way you can make your recommendations. Similarly for ULURP as well. I know that there were a number of questions that you had. I think for housing, it would be something interesting as well in terms of getting data in terms of what is the stock, what are the current prices, if there are trends in terms of that, because especially with some of the potential land use questions that may be coming up, that might be very helpful in terms of us being able to craft resolutions that really reference that data, which is going to be important in policy making and being able to follow these things through ULURP processes or whatever other processes that we have as well. But thank you again for the two of you for that. Okay, all right, we are going to move on. I see the chair for Parks, Recreation, and Culture.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you. We had a great meeting where we covered various subjects, but our main meeting was concentrating on the community garden. So we have most of the community garden in our community present, and we had a presentation from the Union Street Community Garden, and we took a vote. They had a project that was promised to them 20 years ago by the MTA. So we took a vote to endorse, we passed a resolution to endorse that the community board endorse this particular project that the MTA was supposed to do 20 years ago by reaching out to the elected. So a formal wording of the resolution will be forwarded as part of our minutes. And as part of that, we would like to put on the agenda the same presentation for the general meeting. And that was the main resolution that we do. So I think it would be best to get a sense of it after, if you get a chance to go and see the YouTube and the minutes, you'll get a more chance of what we're talking about. So I don't want to take too long. And the only thing I want to announce from our different liaison report, the various community, institutional community, the things we wanted to highlight is what happened at the Prospect Park Zoo because of the last hurricane, the last storm that's been closed indefinitely. So please refer to our YouTube, the recording of the meeting and the minutes that will be there at the office on Fridays. So that's the extent of my report. You are muted.
Did it to myself. I did see one action item. So there's a resolution you have that you wish for us to consider this evening. So I'm going to put that, I'm going to make note of that. And when we get to the business and when we set the agenda, I'll ask you to please describe that so we can see if we're ready for the question and if we have space for it on the agenda for this month.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Are there any questions for the Chair of Parks, Recreation, and Culture? Going once, going twice. Oh, yep, you missed it then. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next committee. Actually, if I could have the chair of ULURP, you have a report for this month?
Yes, and just a note that I just sent the notes to Mia, so she should have them.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you one quick second. Debbie, I see your hand up. Did you have a question? I'm sorry, you're muted.
Oh, for the Parks chair. I just wanted to know whether he had any updates on the zoo. What is the current status? Because that also came up in our meeting on Monday. So I was just
The zoo is closed indefinitely.
ah
The storm, none of the animals were armed. They are all good and safe, but
okay.
their heating and cooling system are seriously affected. As a matter of fact, there's an article that I was reading about it, which I want to send to all the committee members that describe exactly what happened with the zoo and where they are now. They say they are closed indefinitely until they can rebuild their whole system.
Okay.
Not only put it back, but also to make it storm resilient. So they're looking
Yes.
for money, they're looking for support to get the whole thing redone. So they're closing indefinitely. They don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you for that question, and thank you for that the information. Okay. All right, we're going to go back to the chair of land use. I apologize, Suki, for cutting you off before. You have.
Oh, it's okay. So we had a good meeting, good turnout. We spent most of the meeting talking about existing development and zoning conditions in the district, because there had been a lot of requests from members of the public over the past couple of meetings to say that they were dissatisfied with the kind of environmental review that was being done. So we reviewed the development in the district, where it was taking place, the amount of new units that have been produced since 2010. And it's up on a map at the website nyczoning.org that has developments that are completed and also the ones that are permitted. And in total, I think there are like about 2,000 that are permitted and 3,880 that are completed since 2010. So it's really quite a lot. And we saw there's also a lot in CB 14, 17, and 8. This is not news to any of us. We also went over the zoning districts. John Wolfling, who's an architect in the neighborhood, explained those. Basically, we have a variety of zoning districts ranging all the way from single family to quite high density. But we don't have a lot of height limited districts. Then we talked about the Equitable Development Data Explorer, some of the basic demographic conditions in our community. That's a website that comes from city planning. It breaks out the data by community district and across the city. And it has some information on median rents, median incomes at different AMI levels. And as Fred mentioned, we did notice that there seemed to be a gap between the number of people who have very low incomes, like below 30% of AMI, and the housing that's affordable to them. In general, and so we have very high number of rent stabilized apartments. And so that in general means that our median rent level is relatively modest. But, we want to investigate all of these numbers further to make sure they're updated and, really kind of dig into what's going on and make sure that it reflects what's really going on the ground. And, if so, maybe there's further things to be done. And so in respect of that, the city has a zoning text amendment that's coming up very soon called City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. And there's going to be a scoping hearing for it on October 26th. I highly recommend that everybody check it out because it's a very sweeping zoning text amendment. It would essentially upzone everything in our district apart from the 2 single-family districts. You know, so that's most of our district. It could lead to a lot of demolitions. It could lead to a lot of development. It's not clear that it would produce affordable housing because the upzonings are based on voluntary incentives, which, you know, basically means that it, you know, if I put myself in a developer's shoes, there's no reason to build affordable housing, you know, in zoning that already allows apartment buildings, unless the quote unquote affordable level is set at or above what the market rate is already. So, you know, they haven't talked about where those affordability levels are going to be set. But there's already a scoping hearing. So, you know, I highly recommend, and I've asked Dante to send out the information for it. And this is going to apply citywide. What else? And so we have an action item. We asked to form a subcommittee for the housing opportunity text amendment. Just because these proposals are very big and, you know, like it's a lot of detail, a lot of information. And so similar to the economic opportunity text amendment and the zoning for zero carbon text amendment, we'd like to form a subcommittee to look into this. Although I do think, given how sweeping this proposal is, that I would like to suggest that maybe this subcommittee be somewhat larger and that, you know, more board members join in, because I think it's going to impact a lot of people.
Okay, does that conclude your report?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so thank you for that information. Plus, we've noted that you have one action item for a subcommittee for housing opportunities. Is that correct? Okay, all right. So we'll take that up when we get to the agenda and we'll vote on those items as we're creating the agenda as well. And if there's any questions, we'll take those. All right, I am looking around. Are there any, and I apologize in advance, are there any other chairs present who I have not called on yet? I apologize if I'm not seeing you. Okay, I don't see any other chairs. All right, so I guess we're going to get through this section very quickly. I want to thank all the chairs for your work, for everything you're doing. Again, you know, so I think what we want to do is make sure in this section that we're very expeditious to give the summaries, but I'm happy that everyone's been able to give us some information about what actions are going on in your committees, as well as outline the action items that we have that we'll consider shortly. I think one important note that I also want to add, and I'll talk about that a little bit in my chairman's report, is I'm happy to hear that we are coming up more with resolutions as opposed to just motions that we do something, because I think it's very important that when we come up with statements in terms of how policy should be affected or things of that nature, or, you know, we need to be able to kind of identify the reasons, the rationales why we make the decisions we do. A motion just says we do something. The resolution actually outlines the facts as we understand them, and also outlines the recommendation in terms of what we want, what action we want to have happen. So that'll be a conversation that, you know, we'll have offline in terms of how that's formatted, how that's created. But I think that's definitely the direction we want to go, because we want to be able to, again, capture that information and to be able to share that with elected officials and agencies as necessary. So I thank everyone for that. But you know, let me apologize. Are there any questions for the Land Use Committee? Okay.
No, I don't have a question. I don't have a question. I just wanted Suki to tell me what was the amendment. Is it Housing Opportunity Amendment? Is that the correct name?
Yeah, the City of Yes Housing Opportunity Zoning Text Amendment. Oh,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, can I add one thing to my report? Just that there was continued discussion and comments from the public about the Vital Brooklyn project at Kingsborough Psychiatric, which is going to be like a replacement of a 350 bed homeless shelter, an additional 350 units of supportive housing, and then an additional 350 units of income restricted housing. So, you know, people were had a lot of public safety concerns. So that was due to the existing shelter, and they're wondering how the additional supportive housing is going to further impact them, as well as the environmental concerns about the load on the grid, the sewers, traffic, parking, etc. So that's quite a major development. There's two other components as well, close to Utica Avenue, as well as one on Clarkson, which I think is going to be a total of 600 units. So these are things to keep in mind.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I think the district manager will touch on that some, and I will touch on that some as well in terms of some of the things that we've done and some of the conversations we're trying to arrange with regards to that as well. But thank you for that piece. Okay, so at this time, we are going to move on in the agenda to the administrative report. I invite the district manager to please address the executive committee.
Good evening, exec. Good to see you all again. Okay, so for the report, on Tuesday, October 10th, the Department of Transportation's Vision Zero group came out to the board office and set up a table outside the office to provide street and pedestrian safety materials to members of the public. I just want to give a shout out to that group that came out. It looks like they got a lot of foot traffic and sounded like they wanted to come back. So we're going to do our best to work with them to figure out times, dates, locations to do pop-ups as depending availability. On Saturday, October 28th, Veterans Action Group is hosting the Brooklyn Veterans Appreciation Parade. That parade will be on Eastern Parkway. Right now, from my understanding, the way that the permit is it's going to be on the north side, so the CB8 side, using the access street. It's to my understanding they won't be closing Eastern Parkway down, but I will confirm and report back to the board on Monday. On Saturday, November 4th, we have ID NYC, their mobile unit, will be at the board office from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for ID NYC registrations and questions. If you know anyone who would be interested in these services, definitely have them reach out to the board office. We have a flyer that's in the e-blast. You can direct people there to sign up. As you already heard from Suki, the Department of City Planning will be holding a scoping meeting for the City of Yes Housing Opportunity text amendments. So that information will go out in the e-blast. Again, that's next Thursday, the 26th. We will put in the e-blast, and I will also send it out every day so people can see it out in the community. So we want people to be informed of that. The Department of Sanitation is hosting a compost give back event at Dr. Ronald McNair Park on October 21st. The event will be from 10 a.m. to noon. You can reserve free tickets online. If you know anyone who's interested in that, have them reach out to the office. We can send them the information. MTA alternative queue service work will be continuing into November. That was already sent out to the board. We will make sure that it's in the e-blast so the community is still aware that that work will go into November. Let's see, the project at the Lloyd George Seeley Triangle, which is Washington, Lincoln, Flatbush, is not completely finished, but they are in the finishing stages. They are expected back in late fall of 2023, permitting the weather, to install plantings. Once the railings and the other materials that are at that location that are still there, remnants from that project, those will be removed once the plantings are complete. The 2023-2024 regular heat benefit is scheduled to open November 1st. Let's see, this program, if you're eligible, can help you heat or cool your homes. If you need more information about that program, again, we'll put it in the e-blast, but have anyone who may need that information, reach out to the board office and we can direct them to that information. some of the, this is more community-based, but this is something that's coming up, so I guess everyone should be aware of it. It's already happened. The New York State adult use cannabis license application opened on October 4th for cultivator, processor, distributor, micro business, and retail dispensary license types. So basically everyone. The deadline for that is December 4th. We did create a flyer in the e-blast that has links that should direct people directly to OCM's website. There are links on there so people can click. So if they need to report a location, they can do that. But we're trying to get people aware of what the logo looks like for an actual licensed dispensary. So that's what's on the flyer. So that will continue to go out. We also have printed copies in the office we'll be giving out as well. Let's see, the milling and paving will commence, well, milling, not paving, will commence in the district next week on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th throughout the district. We will put that milling schedule in the e-blast. Anyone who else may need it, just have them contact the board office, but we'll have it in the e-blast as well. The final scope of work for the proposed project has been published for Kingsborough Psychiatric. That information was sent out to the board and resident members last week. We also created a little flyer picture situation where people in the e-blast where people can click it and it takes them right to the website where they can find all of the information on that project. Let's see, lastly, pertaining to Vital Brooklyn, we have definitely heard those concerns. Right now, we are trying to schedule a town hall in conjunction with Brian Cunningham's office and also Assembly Member Monique Chandler Waterman's office. So we don't have a date yet, waiting for the Assembly members to confirm that date. Once they confirm the date, obviously, we will disseminate that information everywhere so people are informed that town hall will be taking place. So we're moving on it. We've heard the concerns. We're trying to create that platform and space for people to be able to voice their thoughts and opinions on that project. And then I think that and I already mentioned that. So that's the finality of my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Dante, for your report. At this time, are there any questions for the district manager and his report? All right, Ms. Timothy, I see you. Who else? Anyone else have questions for the district manager? Please use the raise hand function. Suki, I see you. Hold on. Anyone else? Okay, so I see two hands. Ms. Timothy, you first, and then Suki, you have it after that. Go ahead, Debbie, you have the floor.
Okay, Dante, the light fixture on Sterling is still out. Do you have any update on that?
So Diana was supposed to tell me the status of that. I sent her a follow-up. My district service is on Monday. So she should be able to give me a follow-up. I submitted a work order for that light because I know it's out.
I remember. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I should have an update on Monday.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you for that. Suki.
I also just sent you an email, Dante, about the steps at the Prospect Park Q train station on the Manhattan bound side. They're buckled, they're moving. Is this a 311 call? Because I told the station manager verbally and she said, yes, we'll look into it.
Okay.
But I hope they do something, before they have, a tort case against them.
Manhattan bound side?
Yeah. And the second thing is just, with respect to Vital Brooklyn and, some of the programs that are coming in, one of the things that, obviously we get, hear a lot of the concerns and get bombarded with it, but I did want to ask that either Housing or Health and Social Services maybe do a little bit more research, help do a little bit more research into how some of the programs work, like what kind of clients they get, what kind of vetting process there is. Like people were asking for things like criminal background checks, which I don't know if that's how it works, but I have, for example, like I know that when CB 14 was having a hearing about a 200-bed men's homeless shelter next to the King's Theater, the shelter operator did say that all of the residents are required to be either employed or looking for employment. So like, like there, I think different, operators work differently, maybe different programs have different, sort of requirements. I don't, know that much about all of them, but, maybe if someone, there's another committee that can look into some of these things.
Okay, I'll see what I look at information all day, so I'll see what I see, and if there's something that rings, I'll send it out
Yeah.
to the committee. That makes sense.
That'd be helpful. Thank you.
And just a point about the Vital Brooklyn stuff. I think there's questions in terms of the board's role with respect to that. And I think that especially as this come in, I'm not even sure if it's a matter of, I think speaking to the work Dante is doing, I think right now, as opposed to even referring that to the committees, I think the board as itself is taking this on in terms of engaging the appropriate representation.
Right.
And this is why we're working on getting the assembly members, the state legislators, the appropriate city agencies. I think there's some quality of life issues that agencies need to speak to directly in terms of how they're handling things. And I think there's a number of stakeholders that we're trying to get to the table so we can address all of these issues. I think it's, I don't think it's even a matter of they need to come to committees anymore. We've kind of heard what the issues are, and we want to make sure that the community gets to address it directly with the people affected. But absolutely. But I would say this for any chairs, if you do hear anything about, or if you're getting feedback from community residents, please make sure you get that to the district office. So that way you can track the complaints. If there are specific issues, that way we can track that as well, and make sure that as we're engaging, again, the state legislature and the project, and I'm sorry, economic development, we can make sure that those questions are being addressed when we do get them to the table.
Mr. Chair, there's just one thing I wanted to add to my report, and I'll speak to that. At the Prospect Park station, it has been brought, actually, I've seen it before. I'm sure you all have seen it if you've been on Flatbush. There's a lot of trash right when you exit the station. That has been brought to my attention. I was in contact with MTA today and sanitation. We're trying to figure it out. Sanitation is going to see if they can get a camera there because it does look like illegal dumping. So once we get more on that, I'll update, but it's on our radar.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, we are going to move on in the agenda. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me bring up my notes. Okay, so we are going to give a brief report in terms of as the chair. I have a few items that I just want to basically bring people's attention to, but also I guess more in terms of for the committee chairs, just some of the things, administrative what we're doing. One, I wanted to make sure that attendance-wise, we are tracking who's showing up and who is not. We're at the October meeting. I think we're starting to see trends already, which are not good. So we need you to make sure that, especially if you've noticed that there are members who have not shown up over the last couple of months, now's the time for us to flag that at the district office so that way we can have conversations. If they have the availability to stay, or if not, maybe we need to make, if they need to step aside because it's not good for them at this time. But we want to make sure that you're able to function, you have quorum, you're able to do the business you need to do. So please make sure that you have your attendance. If there are problems, report that directly to the district manager. And also make sure that attendance is recorded as part of your minutes as well, who's there and who's not, ensuring that you have quorum at your meetings. Just to drive home the point again about resolutions, I definitely want to make sure that we're moving away from just motions on the floor, that we do something, because to the one hand, I think they indicate the will of the body, which is great, but I think it's also important that we indicate the rationale, why we're asking for this, whether it be extreme, significant public support, whether it be the data shows this is what's necessary. We need to express what the facts are, that we are making the recommendations that we make, so that way we can again share this with elected officials and agencies, and I think that brings more value to the recommendations of the board. And again, if there are data requests that you need, if there are specific questions that you have in terms of what agencies are doing, what volumes are, what capacity we have, please work with your committees to compile that information so that we can give it to the district office and the district manager can create the interrogatory for the appropriate agencies so they can give you the information you need to make decisions that you need to make. So please consider that as, you know, you're meeting and you're continuing to meet with your respective committees. So yes, so the Vital Brooklyn updates. So I did want to thank, I wanted to thank the board for last month for passing that motion in terms of expressing the community's frustration with the process in terms of, I think there were a number of things brought up about changes in scope. I don't think there's a clear understanding of all the projects and the impacts that are coming into the district. I think weirdly enough, there are portions that are in CB9 that we talk about, but then there are portions in other districts that we don't necessarily talk about, but they all come across the border. So they all come across the border, and they affect all of us. So I think it's important for us to have a view of what's specifically in CB9, but also to have a holistic view of what all these different projects, and there are 11 of them, what they all mean to the district and what's coming here, and how does it impact those people who are coming in, and how does it impact those who are here already. We've already heard enough concerns about quality of life issues. Those, I think, are things we can address in the immediate in terms of if there are problems with sanitation, trash, vandalism, if there are security issues, public safety issues. Those are the things that the district office can start addressing right now. But I just want to reiterate the point as well. Please always encourage, and I ask you to act as ambassadors. When you get these complaints, encourage residents to please, one, call 311 to make sure it's registered with the city, and then to make sure that that reference number gets transmitted to CB9 so that Dante and the team can track it on our side and follow up as necessary to try and get resolution. I went to CB17's general board meeting yesterday, and I actually saw one of our residents over there, and I definitely heard the frustration in terms of, you know, when you have these issues and they're persistent and they don't seem to get resolved, I definitely understand the frustration. And I think that we do have a lot of infrastructure. We have a great team here. We have a great board who may be able to help in that sense in terms of getting people relief and making sure that things are done. And again, holding the appropriate entities accountable for what they need to make sure it gets done in this district. And to Dante's point, so we are working with elected officials to try and make sure that there is a town hall meeting that is done. There was a request that we have them as part of our general board, to which I had a conversation with the district manager, and we decided soundly that no, it doesn't make sense. We don't have the time. We can't give them 7 minutes to present. We need to make sure that there's a full-throated dialogue where they report fully what's going on, and that way, and that our constituents, our community residents have an opportunity to express how they feel, express their issues, and get the appropriate feedback in terms of what's going on with this project. It's come up in different conversations from community. I want to be clear about one thing about conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest is something that we all need to be aware of as board members, professionally, where we work, the things we do. But the way conflicts are done is that if you're on a committee or you have a piece of business that comes before the board, if you believe you are conflicted, the best thing to do would be to have a conversation with the board office, to contact the district manager, or you can contact myself, and we can talk about whether the conflict exists. Or more appropriately, what we'll probably end up doing is making sure we direct you to the conflicts of interest board, where you can actually get an opinion from them in advance. Typically, what those opinions are is you recuse yourself from the portion where you would directly be conflicted. Doesn't mean you can't serve on a committee. There may be certain nuances in terms of what roles you can play, but they are best positioned to make sure that you are not conflicted. I have used them in the past, and board members have used them in the past, and we've been able to use some of the learnings from there, and that's why we can give some advice in terms of that. But if there are truly questions around that, absolutely we can make those referrals and you can do it. Now, as I say that, I also want to make a quick comment with respect to personal business or personal matters. You are not required to give your entire life information to the board or to the public. As public servants, absolutely, we are here to serve, but that doesn't mean you don't have a private life where there are certain parts of your life that you can keep private and are not part of the public domain. So with that, you can share your information if you wish. Again, with that conflict of interest board, if it comes up, you do not need to share. If you have gotten an opinion, you do not need to share that with the board. But if you are required, if they've given you an opinion that you are required to recuse yourself, it is incumbent upon you then to make sure when the matter comes up, you recuse yourself as appropriate because you have a conflict, a potential conflict, Typically, that means you can still serve on the committee and you can still be a part of the conversation, but you recuse yourself from the portion where, in terms of voting, and you don't participate in that point. But again, so we can definitely, if there's anyone who has questions about that, we can make, have the appropriate conversations and make the appropriate referrals. That also speaks to a little bit of board level training, and I know it's been coming, it's coming. We're working on that, but I think between conflicts of interest and there's a number of other operational nuances, we want to make sure that all board members have a level set knowledge with that. So we are working on trying to set that up where we do it, if it's in person or if it's virtually, but we definitely want to make sure that this topic and other topics are covered so that board members are comfortable with understanding the rules of how we operate and the requirements of the board. One thing I wanted to note and ask for all the committee chairs. Part of what our bylaws require is that at least one meeting is dedicated to setting your goals for the year. What I would like to ask is that we take it the one step further. As we're in October, I believe all the committees have had an opportunity to meet twice, hopefully at least by this point. You may not have already solidified your goals, but I think by November, this is probably the appropriate time frame for you and your committees to solidify the things. What do you want to accomplish for the year? Because we'll have about 6 to 7 months after the November meeting. And we want to make sure that the committees are focused in terms of we understand what we're going to do with their specific projects and that progress is being made against those goals. So I would ask for all the committee chairs to please make that part of your agenda for the November meetings to discuss the 3 or 4 things, well, the 2 to 4 things that you want to accomplish for the year, because I think that's going to be very helpful in terms of focusing what the committees do and the activities going forward. I would also, discuss the rules of conduct. Very briefly, I think that, in terms of the conversation we've had about that, I think they again, and I note this at every meeting, it's about respect. So it's about how we deal with each other in committee meetings, how we deal with each other in the board meetings, and how we model the values of this board in terms of community, in terms of collaboration, in terms of getting information out there, in terms of sharing with our neighbors. But the one aspect I wanted to talk about in that is time limits. We want to make sure that people are heard, but we also need to be able to make sure that the business gets accomplished. So I would just ask that, in the beginning of the meeting, I said, for chairs, please make sure we keep our remarks succinct. 2 minutes if it's going to be like a very brief executive summary, making sure that we're submitting the minutes so that way they are able to be published in time so everyone has that information. And when we get to the board meetings, I implore everyone as well to make sure that when we're speaking, we're being as brief, concise, and accurate as we can to make sure that the point is being made, but at the same time, again, making sure that as a board, we are being expeditious. And I really want to bring that point home because I know that there's a lot of frustration sometimes with the length of meetings. We need to be cognizant of that in terms of making sure we get to the point so we can handle the business and make sure everything goes. And I want to make the point as well with respect to committee meetings. I know that committee meetings are the opportunity for us to really delve more deeply into topics, but we also want to make sure that we understand that we have limited resources with respect to that as well, because we have the staff who are manning that. If we were in person, we would have limits in terms of the time frame we can do. We want to be respectful of people's time. We don't want people being out too late as well. The staff, they have families, so typically their days are going 10, 12 hours at that rate if we're having really long committee meetings. So I just want to make sure that we're cognizant of that when we meet, making sure that we allow people the opportunity to speak because that's what we do. But at the same time, we don't engage in extended conversations in debate. In terms of, if we have the conversations we need to come to a decision and then we move forward and you're able to move on in your agendas. At this time, that is all I have. My items are for informational purposes only. I will take questions. Ms. Timothy.
Oh, so my question pertains to attendance.
Yes.
I just wanted to know if the CB office has a master list that they keep.
We do.
You do?
Yeah, a running list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Right, and just to add some clarity to that as well. So this is a running list that the office keeps, and it does get requested by Borough Hall. So this
Right.
absolutely will affect, particularly board members, your status on the board. So if they see, and it includes committee meetings. So I mean, if you show up to 5 or 6 meetings out of a year, and you're showing up to less than 50% of your committee meetings, I think the numbers speak for themselves, and the borough president will consider that in terms of what appointments they're making as well. Okay, but I prefer to have conversations up front. I believe we need to be humane because listen, people live lives and things are going on. So the conversations we need to have, let's have those. Make sure people are okay. But in the event that is something that's not at a good point in their life, having these commitments, maybe it's a conversation we have in terms of, okay, well, listen, what other role can you do in terms of serving aside from the committee? Okay, make sense? I'll take time. The silence is compliance. There we go. All right. I'm sorry. Are there any other questions for with regards to the chair's report? Okay. Hearing none, we are now going to move on in the agenda. So I think we are at the point of setting the agenda for this month's meeting. Okay. So the proposed agenda would be, we're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to have the rules of conduct. We are going to have, after that, Dante, are there any presentations that need to be done for this month?
No presentations are scheduled now.
I have a request from the Brooklyn Museum to do a presentation at the November
Okay.
meeting, and also a short presentation for the Union Street Community Garden.
How long are each of those presentations?
Well, the one for the community garden is going to be very short, probably less than 5 minutes. And I think I told them to try to keep everything within at least 10 minutes.
Okay, so community garden, we're saying about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Mhm.
And Brooklyn Museum, what is the purpose of their presentation again?
They were supposed to present last year and never got a chance to do it. So they wanted to come back and do that. So to tell what's happening at the museum and so on.
How long are they? Listen, I just because I love and respect them. They have a lot going on. How much time are they asking for?
I think they're asking maximum 10 minutes. Should be a few slides. It's not something long.
10 minutes is hard because 10 minutes always goes to 15. They got 7, maybe. Well, listen, I'll put them down for 7 if they can commit to that.
Well, I'll tell them they have 7.
Okay. We're going to put that in as a placeholder. We'll see what the rest of the agenda shakes out as.
Right.
If we can do them for this month. Well, let me ask this. Is it possible, can we defer them? Could we defer them for 1 month, if anything?
It's possible, yes. Mhm.
All right, I'm going to put them for now. I would like to think that maybe they come in November. I think it's a lighter meeting, and it might be a nice tone to have the Brooklyn Museum.
No. Actually, they're asking for November.
Oh, they're asking for November.
Yeah. Okay, it's not a problem. Mhm.
Oh, okay. So I'll take them off. All right, but we'll community garden 5 minutes. Okay, so we have that. Any other presentations, Dante, to your knowledge?
None.
Okay. After that, we'll have SLA applications. Public safety was not here. Dante, do you know of any applications?
There was one SLA app. Both apps. Excuse me. There were 2 SLA applications. Both applications were approved by the committee. That's what Mia says.
Okay. There were 2 apps. They were both approved by the committee?
Correct, yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go. Usually I prefer to have that vetted here, but okay. I
got a question before you go further. There was one that we had left back from last month. Dante, is that one part of the 2? I'm trying to remember the name. Glacier or something?
I
got it.
Honestly, I don't.
That's correct. Yeah, right. You're right. There was one that was referred back to the committee.
Yes.
But but we'll take it. They approved 2 of them. They voted on 2, so we'll take the 2 that they voted on.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. So there's 2 applications. We'll leave the placeholders. Dante will put the names in for those. All right. After that, we're going to have public commentary. After which we'll have acknowledgements. And that will conclude the public session. Then we will start the business session. Okay, we will have roll call. After which we will have, approval of minutes. After that, we'll have committee reports. After committee reports, we will have district manager's report. Okay, let me ask. Madam Treasurer, will you have a report this? Are you going to be doing a report this month, or would you prefer to do it next month?
I think it would be best to do it this month. If we could talk before, I guess before Monday.
Okay. Yeah, I literally just sent you an email. So yeah.
Okay,
Thank
we'll have a
you.
treasurer's report.
Yep.
After which we will have a report of the chair. Okay, all right, and then we are going to go into the voting items, which we will establish right now. All right, transportation, I believe they said they had a resolution. Well, they had a resolution for car sharing, and they also had a recommendation for the B49, I believe.
Correct.
That they wish to approve. Okay, so we'll add those two. So B49 recommendation. And then we have the resolution for car sharing. Okay, we have those. Health and Social Services said they're going to move the retirees. Environmental Protection did not have. Parks Recreation, you said you had a resolution for, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? There's a resolution for what?
Resolution is for the board, the executive board and community board to approve, to endorse for MTA to build a promise pavilion and provide water and electricity to the Union Street Community Garden.
The Union Street?
Yes,
Community
Union
Garden?
Street Community Garden.
Okay. All right, at the appropriate time, we'll ask you to just speak very briefly on that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, all right, so that was Parks Recreation. And then we're gonna have, okay, so now this is the one I want to discuss. So then we have land use for the creation of a subcommittee for housing opportunity. Now, Suki, the one thing I want to discuss about this, and we'll see if we're able to put this on. My concern is that's a little bit more in terms of resources than I'm sure we have in terms of capacity. We have the current subcommittee that you're chairing with economic development. To create another one is probably at least 4 to 6 more bodies that we would need to get committed to that. Plus, additionally, there's the resources that we'd have in terms of the board office and getting that space. The question I have is that something that can be, and I guess the question I have is that something that can be combined with the role of the current subcommittee? I'm not sure if from a time perspective, one cuts off of one, or are they both running concurrently?
So economic development we're probably only going to meet one more time. But it's also, it's possible that we can run it through ULURP. It just, it's possible that we can discuss it in ULURP, assuming that there isn't some other major thing hitting us, because like Franklin Avenue, the Spice Factory is still kind of hanging out there. So if that hits, it's going to become very difficult to discuss both fully. Plus, we're still trying to, do the normal kind of like more proactive planning and committee work. It would be we don't have to schedule a housing subcommittee meeting right away. But I just wanted to get the resolution out there so we have the approval to to do it and we don't have to delay. Because they're already starting the scoping meetings.
Right.
I mean, this is not our schedule.
No, absolutely. I mean, and I have concerns about the way this is being rolled out and how tightly they're rolling it too. That's a lot of conversations on a lot of different topics in a very short period of time. But that's separate. That's
But,
committee conversation.
I mean, we
but
can.
what I would ask is
Yeah.
is it possible to just expand the scope of the current subcommittee so it would include the two, and you just roll into the different agenda once you've completed one? Is that an option?
Yeah, if the board approves that, I may want to appoint additional members from housing because
and that probably would make sense. I think it might be easier to say add one or two more
okay.
as opposed
Okay.
to staffing another 4 or 5, because I think it just becomes more resource intensive. I'm not sure we can stretch that far.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to put down the subcommittee on economic housing, and when we get to that point of the agenda, we can have a discussion about amending that to
Okay.
just expanding the scope of the current subcommittee,
Okay.
if that works. Okay, Felice, I do see your hand raised.
Yes, I heard Suki speak on the Franklin Avenue Spice Factory. They have now boarded up and starting to do their demolition for the building, if anyone didn't know. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that the work has begun. And from my understanding, they want to put sorry, I'm in a meeting. They want to put 6 storage in one section of Franklin, and then in the other end, they want to make it very high. So I don't know.
So they
how high is very high.
have filed for a rezoning, and there was a draft scope of work hearing over the summer, but the final scope of work has not been issued. And the final EIS has not been completed, and the ULURP process for the rezoning has not begun. So if you are close to there, keep a very close eye on it and make sure, and I'll, keep an eye, and the board office can keep an eye on the permits and make sure they're not doing anything that they don't have permission to do yet, because they have no permission for they have not started the public process for the rezoning yet. They have permission, obviously they can build as of right. They can build a 7-story building, but they do not have permission for the 14-story building as of right now. There's going to still have to be a process, which they have not begun.
Okay, because I spoke to Ethan, I believe his name, Ethan, from the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, and they also are doing a watchful eye of it all. But what I can do is take pictures and send it to the office so you can see what has begun.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. What's helpful with that too, especially with permits. So, I think you usually have a section where it's supposed to be a permit of whatever work they're doing. If you can take a picture of what the permit is, and we can kind of keep an eye on that to see if it's in line with what they should be doing.
They can get permission for demolition before they
Right.
even get full permission to build a building.
Well, yeah, no, I just want to make sure we verify that. If it's just demolition, okay, they can do that.
But if
It makes
they
sense.
start to go beyond that, then yeah, we have to.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. So at least we can keep an eye real time in terms of what they're doing and what steps they can do reasonably within, what their current zoning allows for them to do. And if it goes beyond there, we can ask the question. No, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. So let me just finish. Okay. So that 4th item would be the creating of the subcommittee, and we'll have that conversation on the floor about amending that probably to expand the scope, to change the scope of the current subcommittee. All right. And then after that, I do not believe we have any unfinished business, so it'll just be new business. And we would then adjourn. Okay. All right. Are there any questions about the okay. So is there any items missing? Is there anything missing from the agenda as I've just stated? Ms. Timothy, I see your hand.
I just have a quick question about 5G. Did we get any updates? Because I haven't heard anything.
Dante, do we have any updates on 5G at this time?
No, let me.
Nothing?
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no like newly active installation scheduled for CB9, but I
Okay.
will confirm.
And in
Okay.
terms of the letter that was sent out, nothing came back.
Of course not. They never
Okay.
respond.
Just want to
But-
confirm.
All
Thank
right.
you.
But Dante, let's follow up on that. Let's just see what the, let's get an official response to them one way or another, what they're doing, and we'll see how we follow up from there.
Okay.
Okay. Mine, I see you. I see you.
No, just want to say, Dante, I haven't gotten an email yet.
Gosh.
I
Okay.
know.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't press send.
Our DM is having a senior moment, like to share.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Going back to the agenda, are there any items that are missing from the agenda as I stated? Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. Let's do this first. For the record, Madam Secretary, can you just call the roll for the exec?
I can. Right? Fred Baptiste,
Present.
Primo Lozana,
Present.
Francisco Leopold. Is she still there?
I see she's on. I just see the box.
Yeah. Linda Watson Lord, that's here. Mana Lugote,
Present.
Dexter Roberts. I don't see him. Nicholas Almanar.
Present.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, out of 7 of us, 6 are present. If you got the
Okay.
quorum.
6 members present, we have a quorum. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as stated.
Move. So move.
I see it moved by Nicholas Almanor. Do I have a second?
Mine now. Second.
I hear a second from Mina. All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as stated. Is there any unreadiness, any questions? Hearing none, do I hear any objection to adopting the agenda by common consent? Is there any objection?
No.
Call for a second time. Any objection to adopting by common consent? Okay, Madam Secretary, please note the agenda is adopted by common consent of the Executive Committee.
So noted.
Okay, all right. And I believe we have come to the, well, actually, okay, is there any other business for the Executive Committee at this time? We're at item 6. Any other business for the Executive Committee? Okay, hearing none, we are at item 7, adjournment. I want to thank everyone. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is safe. There's a lot of things going on in the world. I hope our families and loved ones, and I pray for peace. And for those families who are suffering right now, I extend our heartfelt thoughts and prayers on behalf of Community Board 9. Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Or if you want to stay.
So moved, seconded. Can I do both? Yeah.
Okay, it's moved
Seconded.
moved and seconded. All right. Any
Sorry,
objections?
Primo, I was writing.
It's all
No
good.
worries. Any objections? Hearing none, because I'm not hearing them anyway.
None.
We stand adjourned. The time is now 8:27 p.m. Everyone, thank you very much to all the chairs. Thank you for all the hard work you're doing. And absolutely looking forward to talking to you. And if you need anything, any assistance or from the Executive Committee or from the district office, please do not hesitate. Thank you very
Thank you,
much,
Fred.
everyone, and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone. Be safe.